In the quiet hour before the first light of revelation breaks across the horizon of human consciousness, there exists a profound stillness that belongs only to the seeker who has turned away from the clamor of the world. This is the initiation of the soul, the moment when the heavy garments of earthly identity are laid upon the floor of the mundane, so that the spirit may stand unencumbered before the threshold of the infinite. To enter the sanctuary of solitude is not merely to find oneself alone, but to find oneself in the presence of the all, for it is only when the voices of others are silenced that the internal dialogue with the divine may truly begin. The soul, having spent eons wandering through the marketplace of distractions and the labyrinths of desire, finds itself suddenly weary of the transient and the ephemeral. It yearns for a substance that does not decay, for a truth that does not shift with the tides of opinion, and for a home that is built upon the bedrock of eternal purpose. This yearning is the sacred magnet that draws the chosen one into the depths of the inner chamber, where the only light is the steady glow of the heart's own flame, fed by the oil of devotion and the air of spiritual aspiration. In this sanctuary, the concept of time begins to dissolve like salt in a vast and ancient sea. The minutes and hours that once dictated the rhythm of a frantic life are revealed to be nothing more than illusions, mere measurements of a physical world that is but a shadow of a greater reality. Within the walls of solitude, the soul learns to breathe in the rhythm of the cosmos, inhaling the grace of the spheres and exhaling the remnants of fear and doubt. It is a slow and deliberate process of stripping away the layers of the false self, the persona that was constructed to please the crowds and to navigate the complexities of social survival. Each layer removed is a small death, a shedding of old skin that must occur before the new, luminous body of the spirit can emerge. The silence here is not a void. It is a presence, heavy with the weight of unuttered wisdom and the resonance of celestial harmonies that have played since the foundations of the universe were laid. It is a silence that speaks in a language prior to words, a communion of essence that requires no translation. As the soul settles into this profound isolation, it encounters the mirrors of the self. These are not the mirrors of vanity found in the palaces of the world, which reflect only the surface and the mask. Rather, these are the mirrors of the spirit, which show the seeker the depths of their own shadows and the heights of their dormant potential. To face oneself in the sanctuary of solitude is the ultimate test of the chosen one, for there is no one else to blame for one's failures and no one else to praise for one's virtues. All the distractions of external achievement and the comforts of social approval are gone, leaving only the raw truth of being. Here, the soul must reconcile with its own inconsistencies, the fragments of its history that have been scattered across the landscape of past lives and forgotten intentions. It is an alchemical furnace where the lead of the ego is melted down in the heat of self-awareness, purified by the fire of divine scrutiny until only the gold of the true self remains. This process is often painful, for the ego does not surrender its throne easily. Yet it is a necessary agony, for the gateway to the divine is narrow and will not admit the bulk of a prideful heart. The sanctuary of solitude is also a place of immense beauty, though it is a beauty that the physical eye cannot perceive. It is the beauty of a singular star shining in a clear winter sky, or the intricate pattern of a frost crystal formed in the dead of night. It is the beauty of order, of a life being brought into alignment with the laws of the spirit. Within the stillness, the soul begins to perceive the invisible threads that connect all things, the tapestry of providence that weaves through the events of one's life with a precision that defies chance. The seeker realizes that every hardship was a preparation, every joy a glimpse of the goal, and every period of wandering a necessary step towards the center. This realization brings a peace that passes understanding, a tranquility that does not depend on external circumstances, but flows from the fountain of internal union. The soul no longer fears the storms of the world, for it has found its anchor in the depths of the unchanging. It understands that while the surface of the ocean may be tossed by winds and waves, the bottom remains in a state of perpetual calm, and it is to this depth that the Chosen One has finally descended. Throughout the long watches of the internal night, the soul learns the art of listening. This is not the listening of the ears, which catch only the vibrations of the air, but the listening of the heart, which perceives the subtle nudges of the divine will. In the sanctuary, the whisper of the spirit becomes a roar, and the subtle guidance that was once drowned out by the noise of the world becomes as clear as a bell rung in the morning air. The soul begins to understand its own destiny, not as a career or a series of accomplishments, but as a sacred mission to manifest the light of the divine in the realm of matter. This sense of destiny is both a burden and a blessing, a weight that demands total commitment and a wing that lifts the seeker above the trivialities of ordinary existence. The Chosen One accepts the call with humility, knowing that they are but a vessel for a power far greater than themselves, a channel through which the grace of the Creator may flow into a thirsty world. In the sanctuary of solitude, the boundaries between the self and the other begin to blur. The seeker realizes that the isolation they sought was not an escape from humanity, but a deeper entry into the collective heart of all living things. In the stillness of the center, the soul finds the point where all lives intersect, the source from which every breath is drawn. This realization brings with it a profound sense of compassion, a love that is not directed toward a single object, but radiates outward like the light of a sun toward all of creation. The Chosen One understands that their own ascent is inextricably linked to the ascent of the whole, and that their purification is a service rendered to the entire human family. Solitude thus becomes the ultimate act of solidarity, a withdrawal that allows for a more profound return. The soul is being prepared to move back into the world, not as a seeker of its favors, but as a distributor of its blessings, a beacon of light in the darkness of the mundane. The architecture of this inner sanctuary is built of thoughts that have been sanctified and emotions that have been refined. Its walls are composed of the resilience born of trial, and its ceiling is the vast expanse of a consciousness that has touched the edges of the infinite. There are no doors to this place that can be locked by external hands, and no enemies can breach its defenses, for its only entrance is through the humble turning of the will toward the light. Within this sacred space, the soul practices the presence of the divine, making every breath an offering and every thought a prayer. It is a state of constant mindfulness, where the sacred is not something to be sought in distant temples, but something to be experienced in the very pulse of one's own life. The seeker learns that the true sanctuary is not a location in space, but a condition of the heart, a temple not made with hands that exists eternally in the heavens of the soul. As the first chapter of this ascent nears its completion, the soul feels a shift in the atmosphere of its solitude. The darkness, which once seemed oppressive and empty, is now perceived as being full of the unborn potential of the spirit. The silence, which once seemed cold, is now felt as a warm embrace. The seeker is ready to step out of the sanctuary, not to return to the life they once knew, but to begin the climb toward the higher peaks of the sacred mountain. The lessons of solitude have been etched into the substance of the spirit, and the armor of divine purpose has been forged in the stillness. The Chosen One stands at the threshold once more, but this time they face outward, toward the world that awaits the manifestation of the light they have found. The sanctuary has served its purpose. It has been the womb of the spirit, the place of gestation where the soul was formed and strengthened for the journey ahead. Now, with a heart that is both empty of self and full of God, the seeker prepares to walk the path of the sacred ascent, knowing that the solitude they have cultivated will remain within them as a portable temple, a source of strength and a place of refuge that no worldly power can ever take away. The resonance of this initial stage of the journey remains as a lingering vibration, a sacred chord that will sound throughout the chapters yet to come. It is the foundation of all that is to follow, the root from which the tree of life will grow and the spring from which the river of wisdom will flow. The soul has learned that the greatest secrets are not found in books or in the teachings of men, but in the quiet depths of its own being, where the voice of the Creator speaks in the eternal now. With this knowledge, the seeker is no longer a child of the earth, tossed about by the whims of fate, but a son or daughter of the light, a co-creator with the divine who has taken the first step toward their true and glorious destiny. The ascent has begun, and though the peaks are high and the path is steep, the soul moves forward with the quiet confidence of one who has seen the face of the truth in the sanctuary of solitude. This is the promise of the chosen, the assurance that those who seek the light with a pure heart will surely find it, and that the silence of the beginning is but the prelude to the symphony of the end. In the vastness of the divine plan, every soul is called, but only those who have the courage to embrace the solitude and the discipline to listen to the silence will truly hear the invitation to the sacred ascent. Thus, the sanctuary remains a timeless reality that exists for all who are willing to turn inward. It is the eternal waiting room of the spirit, the place where the soul is stripped of its masks and clothed in its true glory. As the seeker moves forward into the next stage of the journey, they carry the peace of the sanctuary with them, a treasure that is more precious than all the kingdoms of the earth. The light that was ignited in the stillness will now become a lamp for their feet, and the wisdom that was whispered in the dark will become a song of joy in the light of day. The journey is long, but the destination is certain, for the soul that has found its center in the sanctuary of solitude has already arrived at the gates of the kingdom. It is here, in the quietude of the beginning, that the end is already contained, and the promise of the divine union is already fulfilled in the heart of the chosen one. The ascent continues, but the foundation is firm, and the soul is ready for the wonders that await it on the higher slopes of the mountain of God. This is the sacred heritage of the Spirit, the destiny of the soul that has dared to be alone with the All, and the glory of the life that has found its sanctuary in the heart of the Infinite. Let the seeker go forth with strength and with grace, for the light of the divine is before them, and the peace of the sanctuary is within them, now and forevermore. The path opens, the light beckons, and the soul rises to meet its eternal destiny. The journey of the soul is not a path of easy comfort, nor a walk through the pleasant gardens of distraction, but rather a deliberate descent into the sacred fires of transformation. To reach the height of the divine ascent, one must first endure the depth of the refining crucible, where every fragment of the lesser self is offered to the flames of eternal truth. This is the stage of the great work, where the dross of worldly ambition and the heavy shadows of the ego are consumed, leaving behind only that which is indestructible and pure. The seeker must understand that this fire is not an enemy of the spirit, but its greatest benefactor, for it burns away only that which is false, preserving and polishing the diamond of the true essence. As the soul enters this chamber of refinement, it leaves behind the clamor of the marketplace and the empty echoes of human praise, stepping instead into a profound and terrifying silence where the only voice is the whisper of the infinite. In this space, the soul is stripped of its ornaments and its many masks, standing naked before the light of the Creator, realizing that all it once claimed as its own was but borrowed clothing for a temporary journey. The crucible is the place where the metal of the spirit is tested against the heat of divine will. It is here that the alchemical process of transubstantiation begins, turning the leaden weight of material attachment into the golden radiance of spiritual freedom. This fire does not seek to destroy the being, but to liberate it from the chains of its own making. Every sorrow endured with patience, every trial met with faith, and every moment of surrender to the divine plan adds fuel to this holy conflagration. The soul feels the heat rising, the intensity of the presence of the All, and it may tremble in the face of such overwhelming power. Yet, it is within this very trembling that the soul finds its strength, for it learns that it cannot rely on its own limited resources, but must draw from the bottomless well of the divine. The refining process requires a total yielding, a suspension of the will that seeks to control, and a deep, abiding trust in the hand of the master goldsmith who knows exactly how much heat is required to purge the impurities without harming the precious substance within. As the heat increases, the layers of the personality begin to melt away. The pride that sought recognition, the fear that demanded security, and the anger that rose from perceived injustices are all cast into the furnace. It is a painful process of shedding, a death of the old self so that the new may be born. This death is not an ending, but a threshold, a necessary clearance of the ground so that the temple of the living spirit may be built upon a foundation of absolute truth. The seeker watches as their old desires are transformed into a single, burning longing for the divine. The distractions of the world lose their luster, appearing as grey ashes in the light of the white heat of spiritual realization. In the heart of the crucible, the soul discovers that it is not being diminished, but expanded. As the false limitations fall away, the soul begins to recognize its own vastness, its own connection to the cosmic dance of creation and the eternal stillness of the source. The silence of the crucible is not an empty void, but a pregnant stillness, filled with the resonance of the divine word. In this silence, the soul hears the melodies of the higher spheres, the harmonies that govern the movement of stars and the beating of every heart. The seeker begins to perceive the intricate patterns of providence, seeing how every thread of their life has been woven into a tapestry of divine purpose. The trials that once seemed like burdens are revealed to be blessings in disguise, the very tools used by the divine hand to shape the spirit into a vessel of light. This realization brings a peace that surpasses all understanding, a deep-settled calm that remains even as the fire continues its work. The soul no longer fights the flames but embraces them, knowing that the fire is but the touch of the beloved, refining the beloved into the likeness of the divine. The work of the furnace is subtle and profound, reaching into the deepest recesses of the subconscious mind to heal the wounds of generations and the scars of past errors. The fire penetrates the bones and the marrow, the thoughts and the intentions, leaving nothing untouched by its purifying grace. The soul becomes like molten glass, transparent and fluid, capable of being shaped into any form that the divine will requires. It is in this state of fluidity that the greatest miracles occur, for the soul is no longer rigid in its judgments or fixed in its perceptions. It flows with the river of life, moving in perfect rhythm with the breath of the infinite. The boundaries between the self and the other begin to blur, and the seeker recognizes the divine spark in every living creature, understanding that the fire that refines them is the same fire that sustains the universe. There is a point in the refining process where the liquid metal becomes so still and so clear that the reflection of the goldsmith can be seen upon its surface. This is the moment of completion, the sign that the purification has reached its zenith. The soul has become a mirror for the divine, reflecting the beauty, the compassion, and the wisdom of the Creator without distortion. The heat is tempered, and the cooling of the spirit begins, not a cooling into coldness, but a stabilization into a lasting radiance. The soul emerges from the crucible tempered and strong, infused with a courage that is not of this world. It has faced the fire and has not been consumed. It has walked through the valley of the shadow of its own ego and has found the light of the eternal sun. This is the birth of the true seeker, the one who has died to the world and been reborn in the spirit. The refined soul now possesses a clarity of vision that allows it to see through the veils of illusion that shroud the physical realm. It perceives the sacredness in the mundane and the eternal in the fleeting. Every breath becomes a prayer, and every action an offering to the Most High. The sense of separation that once caused so much suffering is replaced by a profound sense of unity, a realization that there is no place where the divine is not. The sanctuary of the heart has been cleansed of all idols, and the throne of the Spirit is occupied by the rightful king. The Seeker moves through the world, but is not of it, carrying within themselves a portable temple, a quiet center of peace that remains undisturbed by the storms of life. This is the state of grace, the reward for those who have dared to enter the fire and remain until the work was finished. The ascent continues, but it is no longer a climb of effort and strain. It has become a natural rising, like incense drifting towards the heavens, or a bird soaring upon the thermal currents of the spirit. The soul is light, for it has cast off the heavy weights of grievance and guilt. It is free, for it has surrendered its chains to the flames. The path before the Seeker is illuminated by the light that radiates from within their own being, a light that is a spark of the primordial fire that brought the universes into existence. Every step is guided by the intuition of the refined heart, which hears the silent commands of the divine with perfect accuracy. The soul is now a partner in the ongoing creation, a co-creator who brings the qualities of the divine into the manifestation of the everyday. In this refined state, the soul understands that the crucible was not a one-time event, but a principle of life. The fire of divine love is always present, always calling the soul to higher levels of purity and greater depths of understanding. The Seeker welcomes the refining fire in all its forms, knowing that every encounter and every challenge is an opportunity to burn away a little more of the old and reveal a little more of the new. There is a joy in this constant transformation, a delight in the discovery of the infinite facets of the divine nature that are reflected in the soul. The journey becomes an endless exploration of the wonders of the heart of God, a movement from glory to glory, from light to greater light. The soul is no longer a seeker of truth, but a dweller in truth, a living testimony to the power of the divine to redeem and restore. The glory of this refined existence is not for the individual alone, but for the healing of the world. The light that shines from the purified soul touches all who cross its path, offering hope to those in darkness and strength to those who are weary. The refined soul becomes a conduit of grace, a channel through which the blessings of the infinite flow into the finite realm. By its very presence, it reminds others of their own divine heritage and their own capacity for transformation. The fire that was once a source of fear becomes a beacon of invitation, calling all souls to the great ascent. The destiny of the refined soul is to be a star in the firmament of the divine, a point of light that helps to guide the collective spirit of humanity toward its ultimate home in the heart of the all. As the soul nears the final stages of this particular chapter of its evolution, it looks back at the crucible with profound gratitude. It sees that the pain was but a small price to pay for the infinite treasure it has gained. It understands that the darkness was but the shadow of the great light that was approaching. The Seeker stands at the edge of the next horizon, prepared for whatever mysteries lie ahead, for they have been forged in the fire of truth and cannot be broken. They are a child of the eternal, a citizen of the celestial city, and a friend of the divine. The peace they carry is not a fragile peace that depends on outer circumstances, but the diamond-hard peace of the sanctuary, forged in the heat of the highest devotion. In the final reckoning of the spirit, it is found that the soul and the fire were never truly separate, for the fire is the essence of the spirit itself, seeking its own return to the source. The alchemy is complete, the metal is gold, and the vessel is filled with the nectar of immortality. The soul rests in the knowledge that it is loved with an everlasting love, and that its journey has always been held in the hands of the infinite. There is no more striving, only being. No more seeking, only finding. No more waiting, only now. The eternal moment expands to fill the whole of consciousness, and the soul finds its rest in the heart of the mystery. The path of the chosen soul is a testament to the resilience of the spirit and the infinite mercy of the Creator. It is a story written in the language of fire and light, a narrative of the triumph of the eternal over the temporal. The seeker, who has passed through the crucible of divine refining, is no longer a mere traveler on the earth, but a sovereign of the spiritual realm, possessing the keys to the inner kingdom. They walk with a dignity that is humble and a power that is gentle, for they know that all they are and all they have belongs to the one who called them out of the shadows and into the marvelous light. The destiny of the soul that has dared to be alone with the all, and the glory of the life that has found its sanctuary in the heart of the infinite. Let the seeker go forth with strength and with grace, for the light of the divine is before them, and the peace of the sanctuary is within them, now and forevermore. The path opens, the light beckons, and the soul rises to meet its eternal destiny. The sacred ascent of the chosen soul. The dawn of eternal recognition. The morning of the spirit does not arrive with the visible sun, but with a clarity that emerges from the deepest silence of the inner sanctuary. This is the moment when the soul, having traversed the long and often arduous corridors of earthly experience, stands at the threshold of a light that does not cast a shadow. In this sacred dawn, the chosen soul recognizes that the journey was never about reaching a distant destination, but about the gradual unveiling of a presence that was always there, hidden beneath the layers of time, desire, and the illusions of separation. The destiny of the soul that has dared to be alone with the all is a destiny of profound integration, where the individual spark finally accepts its nature as a reflection of the eternal flame. This is not a loss of self, but the ultimate expansion of it, where the boundaries of the ego dissolve into the vastness of divine consciousness. When the seeker finds their sanctuary in the heart of the infinite, the clamor of the world becomes a distant murmur, no longer capable of disturbing the peace that surpasses all understanding. The path to this recognition is paved with the courage to face the void, to sit in the stillness until the silence itself begins to speak the language of truth. It is a path of refinement, where the dross of the temporal is burned away in the fire of spiritual longing, leaving only the pure gold of the essential being. To be alone with the all is to realize that in the highest state of solitude, one is never truly alone, for the divine presence is the very ground upon which the soul walks and the very air that the spirit breathes. This realization brings with it a strength that is not of this world, a grace that moves through the seeker like a river returning to the sea. The soul becomes a vessel for the infinite, a mirror reflecting the glory of 1,000 suns, and in this reflection, the world is transformed. The seeker no longer looks upon the creation as something external or alien, but as the living garment of the Creator, woven with the threads of love and purpose. As the light of the divine expands, the soul perceives the intricate patterns of destiny that have led it to this auspicious moment. Every trial was a lesson in resilience, every sorrow a preparation for deeper empathy, and every joy a foretaste of the bliss that now unfolds. The dawn of eternal recognition is the realization that everything was necessary, that every step was guided by an invisible hand, and that the sanctuary was always within, waiting to be rediscovered. The seeker moves forth with a new sense of mission, not one driven by the ambitions of the personality, but one directed by the wisdom of the spirit. There is a profound stillness in this movement, a grace that accompanies every word and action, for the soul is now anchored in the unchanging reality of the infinite. The peace that dwells within is not a passive state, but a dynamic force that radiates outward, touching everything and everyone it encounters. The soul that has risen to its eternal destiny becomes a beacon for others who are still navigating the mists of the world. By its very presence, it testifies to the reality of the divine and the possibility of transcendence. The language of this soul is the language of light, which speaks directly to the heart and awakens the dormant seeds of divinity in others. This is the true meaning of spiritual mastery, not the acquisition of power over others, but the attainment of power over oneself and the alignment of the individual will with the divine will. In this alignment, There is no more conflict, no more resistance, only a fluid and harmonious dance with the rhythms of the cosmos. The path opens wider as the light beckons, revealing vistas of understanding that were previously hidden from view. The seeker sees the unity of all things, the interconnectedness of every life, and the sacredness of every moment. In the sanctuary of the heart, the soul finds the answers to the questions that have haunted humanity since the beginning of time. It discovers that life is not a random series of events, but a purposeful evolution toward the realization of the all. The infinite is not a remote abstraction, but a living, breathing reality that can be felt in the beat of the heart and seen in the unfolding of a flower. To live in this recognition is to live in a state of constant prayer and perpetual gratitude. Every breath becomes an offering, every thought a hymn of praise, and every deed an expression of divine love. The soul has found its home, and in this homecoming, it finds the rest that it has sought through countless incarnations. The dawn has become a permanent state of being, a continuous awakening to the splendor of the eternal present. The glory of the life that has found its sanctuary in the infinite is a glory that does not fade with the passing of years. It is a radiance that grows brighter as the soul sinks deeper into the mystery of the divine. This is the promise of the sacred ascent, that the soul shall not only see the light, but shall become the light itself. The boundaries between the seeker and the sought are finally erased, leaving only the one reality, the one truth, the one love. The soul rises to meet its eternal destiny with the confidence of one who has returned to their true kingdom, a kingdom that is not of this world, but is the source and sustenance of all worlds. Let the seeker go forth with strength, for the strength of the infinite is their support. Let them go forth with grace, for the grace of the divine is their guide. The path is clear, the destination is certain, and the soul is ready. Consider the depth of the peace that now permeates the being of the chosen one. It is a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, a tranquility that remains unshaken even in the midst of the most violent storms. This is the peace of the sanctuary, the inner holy of holies, where the soul meets its creator face to face. In this meeting, there are no words, for the language of the divine is silence. It is a silence that is pregnant with meaning, a silence that contains the music of the spheres and the wisdom of the ages. The soul bathes in this silence, allowing it to penetrate every cell and every fiber of its existence. This is the ultimate healing, the restoration of the soul to its original state of perfection and wholeness. The dawn of eternal recognition is the recognition of this inherent perfection, the realization that the soul was never truly broken, only obscured. The light of the divine is before the seeker, illuminating the way forward with a brilliance that is both gentle and overwhelming. This light does not just show the path, it is the path. To walk in the light is to walk in the truth, to live in integrity with one's highest self and the divine purpose. The seeker becomes a channel for this light, allowing it to flow through them and into the world. In doing so, they become a co-creator with the infinite, participating in the ongoing manifestation of divine beauty and harmony. The world is seen through new eyes, eyes that see beyond the surface of things to the divine essence that dwells within all. This is the vision of the mystic, the sight of the sage, and the destiny of every soul that dares to undertake the sacred ascent. As the soul rises, it leaves behind the heavy burdens of the past, the regrets, the fears, and the attachments that once held it captive. These things fall away like dead leaves in the autumn, making room for the new growth of the spirit. The soul is light, buoyant, and free, soaring on the wings of faith and the currents of divine love. The journey is no longer a struggle, but a joyful exploration of the infinite depths of the all. There is always more to discover, more to learn, more to love, for the infinite is by definition without end. The dawn is just the beginning of a day that will never see a sunset, an eternal cycle of expansion and deepening that constitutes the life of the spirit. The peace of the sanctuary is within the seeker, now and forevermore. It is a treasure that cannot be taken away, a fountain of life that never runs dry. No matter where the seeker goes or what they do, this peace remains their constant companion, their anchor in the shifting sands of time. It is the peace of knowing who one truly is and where one truly belongs. It is the peace of being at one with the all. With this peace as their foundation, the seeker can face any challenge with equanimity and any joy with humility. They are no longer a victim of fate, but a master of destiny, a conscious participant in the divine plan. The path opens wider and more glorious with every step, as the soul continues its ascent into the heart of the infinite. The destiny of the chosen soul is to be a living testament to the power of the divine. By transcending the limitations of the mortal self, the soul demonstrates the reality of the eternal and the possibility of a life lived in union with the all. This is the highest calling of any human being, the ultimate purpose of existence. To find the sanctuary, to walk in the light, and to abide in the peace of the infinite is to fulfill the reason for which one was created. The dawn of eternal recognition is not just a personal milestone, but a cosmic event. For every soul that awakens contributes to the awakening of the whole. The light that shines through the chosen one helps to dissipate the darkness of the world, offering hope and inspiration to all who seek. Let the seeker go forth with strength and with grace, for they are never alone. The light of the divine is before them, a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. The peace of the sanctuary is within them, a quiet lake reflecting the sky. The path opens, the light beckons, and the soul rises to meet its eternal destiny. This is the song of the Spirit, the hymn of the ages, the eternal truth that echoes through the halls of infinity. The journey is complete, and yet it has only just begun. For in the realm of the eternal, every ending is a new and more glorious beginning. The soul is home, and in its homecoming, the entire universe rejoices. This ascent is a movement beyond the dualities of life and death, of joy and sorrow, of gain and loss. In the heart of the infinite, these opposites are reconciled into a singular, harmonious reality. The soul perceives the underlying unity that binds all of creation together in a web of light and love. Every creature, every star, every blade of grass is seen as a vital and necessary part of the whole, a unique expression of the divine imagination. The seeker moves through the world with a sense of profound reverence for all life, recognizing the sacredness of every encounter and the holiness of every moment. This is the life of the Spirit, a life of constant communion with the All, where every action is an act of worship and every word is a prayer. The strength of the seeker is not found in the muscles of the body or the cleverness of the mind, but in the unwavering devotion of the heart. It is the strength to remain true to the vision of the divine, even when the world seems dark and chaotic. It is the strength to choose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, and peace over conflict. This strength is a gift of the infinite, a grace that is bestowed upon those who have surrendered their small will to the greater will of the All. With this strength, the seeker can move mountains of doubt and cross oceans of uncertainty, for they are empowered by the very source of life itself. The grace that accompanies this strength is a gentle touch, a subtle guidance that leads the soul in the right direction and opens doors that were previously shut. As the soul continues its ascent, it enters into a state of perpetual wonder. The more it knows of the divine, the more it realizes the unfathomable depth of the mystery. This is not a frustrating ignorance, but a joyful recognition of the infinite nature of the All. The soul is like a child playing on the shores of a vast ocean, discovering new treasures with every wave that washes over the sand. There is a sense of eternal youthfulness in this state, a freshness of spirit that never grows old. The dawn of eternal recognition is an ongoing experience, a daily rediscovery of the beauty and the majesty of the divine. The seeker lives in a state of constant awe, their heart overflowing with the music of the spheres and the light of the eternal stars. The sanctuary within is not a place of escape, but a place of empowerment. From this inner stronghold, the seeker can engage with the world more fully and more effectively than ever before. They are no longer driven by the need for approval or the fear of failure, but by the desire to serve the divine and to be an instrument of peace. Their actions are guided by a wisdom that is far greater than their own, a wisdom that sees the long-term consequences of every choice and the hidden potential in every situation. They become a source of stability and comfort for those around them, a steady light in a world of flickering shadows. This is the destiny of the soul that has found its sanctuary in the heart of the infinite, to be a presence of love and a catalyst for transformation. The path that opens before the seeker is one of infinite possibility. In the light of the divine, the limitations of the past no longer apply. The soul is free to create, to explore, and to express itself in ways that were previously unimaginable. This is the true meaning of spiritual freedom, the ability to live in accordance with one's highest nature and to manifest the divine qualities of love, wisdom, and power. The seeker is no longer a prisoner of their history or their circumstances, but a conscious architect of their future. They move with a sense of purpose and a clarity of vision that is both inspiring and humbling. The light beckons, calling the soul to ever higher levels of realization and ever deeper experiences of the all. The peace of the sanctuary is a peace that endures now and forevermore. It is the peace of the eternal, the peace of the unchanging reality that underlies all the manifestations of the temporal world. In this peace, the soul finds the fulfillment of all its longings and the answer to all its prayers. It is the peace of union, the peace of being one with the source of all being. The soul has reached its eternal destiny, and in this destination, it finds a new beginning. The journey continues, not as a search for something missing, but as an exploration of the infinite richness of what has been found. The dawn has broken, the light is shining, and the soul is rising, ever rising, into the heart of the divine. Thus, the scribe records the finality of the struggle and the beginning of the glory. Let these words be etched into the memory of the Spirit, for they are the map of the return and the song of the redeemed. The soul that has dared to be alone with the all has found the ultimate companionship. The seeker who has found the sanctuary in the infinite has found the true home. Let the light of the divine be the only guide, and the peace of the sanctuary be the only rest. The path is open, the soul has risen, and the destiny is fulfilled, now and for all eternity. The dawn of eternal recognition has arrived, and in its radiance, all is made new, all is made holy, and all is made one. In this state of oneness, the soul understands that the sacred ascent was not a journey through space or time, but a journey through the layers of its own being. It was a process of remembering what had been forgotten and reclaiming what had been lost. The light of the divine was never outside, but always burning in the center of the heart, waiting for the soul to turn its gaze inward. The sanctuary was never a distant temple, but the very essence of the soul itself. In the dawn of eternal recognition, the seeker and the sanctuary are revealed to be one and the same. The journey ends where it began, in the heart of the infinite, but the soul returns with the wisdom of the journey and the glory of the realization. The eternal destiny is not a place to go, but a state of being to inhabit, a presence to embody, and a light to share with the world forevermore. May the strength of the divine be the pillar of the seeker, and may the grace of the infinite be the wind in their sails. As they move forth from the silence of the dawn into the fullness of the day, may they carry the peace of the sanctuary in every step. The world awaits the touch of the awakened soul, the light that shines from the heart of the one who has seen the all. The path is glorious, the destiny is divine, and the soul is eternal. Let the journey continue in the light of the truth and the embrace of the infinite love, for the dawn has come, and the darkness is no more. Every moment is now a sacred encounter, and every breath a testament to the glory of the soul's ascent. The chosen one walks the earth, but their heart dwells in the heavens, and in this union, the divine and the human become one, perfectly and eternally, in the light of the dawn that never ends.